Coming up next, we sat down with Fitchburg Mayor Steve DiNatale. $3 million Mass Works grant for the city, and what is it? How is it going to be used?
Yeah, that Mass Works grant was just an early Christmas gift, you might say. It is very heavily dependent on how well it's presented to the state. In this particular case, the Department of Housing and Community Development. That's who makes those decisions. And that's we had one of the largest of the grants. I mean, there were some cities with 7 or 8 million. This was 3 million, a significant amount, certainly for our city. And it's the Main Street traffic pattern was changed back in 1967. And it was a result of the movement away from downtowns and into the malls. And what we've done, what's happened now, it's come full circle. The movement now nationally, certainly locally, is to move back to Main Street. And that's what, and this was discussed for years, that we should go back to an east-west traffic pattern. Because if you're at Morin Square, that's the eastern end of Main Street, and of course beyond City Hall is the western side of it, the western end. And that's what we're proposing, going back to what it was pre-1967. So going east and west, the intent is to slow traffic down. It's part of the Complete Streets program that the state has. And that's part of how it's critical how it is presented. And Tom Skoronsky and his staff in community development did an outstanding job in selling it, because that's what you're doing, you're selling it. And we convinced the state that this was a viable project, a project that's important to the city of Fitchburg in our efforts to revitalize the downtown. So what it's going to look like, there will be changes in signalization, where you've got signals, traffic signals that are one way, obviously, because everything's going in the same direction, to two-way. There'll be pedestrian-friendly crossing areas where there's flashing crossing signage, that kind of thing, curb cuts that will be put in, sidewalk repairs, that kind of alterations. So that's where that $3 million is going to go. A lot of it is, again, that signalization component. It's a labor intensive. Then there's some discussion of a strategically placed roundabout. It would be what we're thinking is beyond Old City Hall. Maybe. We still haven't made that decision. But that's what's happening with that money. And again, we're looking to make it a much more user-friendly downtown, where it's, people have always mentioned the fact that the way it's configured now, it's a racetrack. It's oftentimes, it's not what we're hoping to achieve. And with some of the things that we're going to talk about, right now, it's going to play into that. We're getting people on Main Street in the form of housing and slowing traffic down and making it more appealing.
When will the project actually begin?
We're going to be going out to a design. The design process has to be provided by April. We have to do that, January. We're required to open up public hearings where there are stakeholders involved, neighbors, that will give them an opportunity to voice their support, concerns, complaints, what have you. So that's part of that. And then it will go out to bid, I believe, in April. So the project, I think we're looking at a completion in 2020, 21. So hopefully 2020. And this is in conjunction with, we're trying to coordinate this with the Water Street Bridge repair, which is a $24 million project that the state is paying for.
Well, let's jump into that. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
What that's going to mean.
Yeah, that'll be traffic configurations reconfigured, and again, tied in with what we're doing on Main Street. People are going to have to bear up. That's going to be a 2 to 3 year project. So traffic is going to be redirected in a couple of places, one in particular off of Water Street on the at the 5th Street Bridge. So you'll have to go over the 5th Street Bridge, come down Summer Street onto Main. And that's going to be for, a significant amount of time, 2 to 3 years. But the end result is going to impact on much more beneficial traffic flows and just access to the downtown in general.
Let's go back to Main Street, City Hall. It's got a nice wrapping around it.
Well, it's Christmas, you know what I mean? It's Christmas, that's what it is. My chief of staff, A.J. Terigny, put it was his idea to put the seal, the Fitchburg seal on it. Someone suggested to me, we should have got a big red bow, So, but that's moving along nicely. I went in about a month ago, and it's just completely gutted. But since that time now, we've got the elevator shaft has been put in, brand new elevator. The roof is now repaired and shingled, 50-year shingle on that, and it's starting to take shape inside. So it's looking at a completion date of October or November of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Are there other construction projects that are going to be introduced in 2020 that may involve bridges or roads?
There's always bridges and roads. People have to realize we've got over 47 bridges in the city of Fitchburg, and about 240 miles of road, and we all know about the concerns with the roads, and believe me, I drive on them myself. So the challenge is going to be how we address those most in need is what we do. We triage the streets, if you will. What's, what needs the paddles most, to shock it back into utilization. So, again, most of the projects going on, fortunately, are private, and in some cases, private and public. You've got the Fitchburg Arts Community, the old B.F. Brown building. That's moving forward. Has historic tax credits. The first phase have been secured. They're waiting for the next phase. Same thing for the theater block. It's passed the first round of historic tax credits, so they're moving forward with making that the old theater, which was, believe it or not, 1,600-seat facility. It won't be as many today with today's standards with Americans with Disabilities Act's requirements and whatnot. Probably be more like 12 or 1,300, and then a parking structure next door in the lot. So you've also got Research Results Building, John Zarella's building on Main Street, which he sold recently to Red Line Wall Systems, and my good friend Brian Cody, who's taking over that building and making it into a restaurant site, both floors. Very interesting. And some mixed use. Upstairs will be apartments. Downstairs will be a kind of a diner setup, breakfast, lunch kind of thing. But good, exciting things happening. I mean, and again, we're putting foot traffic on Main Street. That's what's going to generate, and guys like Brian are forward thinking enough to know there's going to be a great deal of activity in that area, and they want to exploit that and tap into it.
What about the Game On sports complex?
Yeah.
How's that?
I just talked with Steve Marsden yesterday, and moving forward, the building, the Fieldhouse building is up. It has been up for several months. Windows have been in place. The steel company that's coming back on Tuesday, actually, and their plan is to have it completely done by Christmas. And that was the latest version. He's still up there crushing a lot of granite. He ran into more granite up there. And that's what people have to understand about Fitchburg as well. We're built on rock, which is a good thing in some cases, but when it comes to water and starting out in one place and ending up somewhere else, it's because of all that granite. It just flows. So we have those challenges, but he's up there crushing and disposing of that. There's 84 acres up there, and he's only utilized maybe, I want to say 10. So there's other opportunities up there for private business investment, and we're in discussions with some people about that, and him, of course.
Let's talk about the importance of the 2020
Yeah,
census.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's so important, not just to the country, but certainly to the city of Fitchburg, because of the services that we provide. The state, the federal government, the city, are tied directly into numbers of people who have that need. And if we don't know that, or if we don't have an accurate number, which is always a challenge, the message that I'm hoping, if you're watching me, folks at home, we're interested in just knowing that you live here in Fitchburg. That's all we care about, if you know what I mean. We don't care about anything else in your life, just that you are a resident in Fitchburg and that you may or may not be eligible for certain services. And it's from everything from education to, I mentioned the roads, municipal government, just every aspect of life in a city. And the more people that we can count, the more money is frankly given to the city of Fitchburg to help provide those services back to you, the residents of the city. So
when does the counting begin?
It begins in April, right? And again, there are several ways that you'll be able to register, and we're hoping you'll utilize at least one of them. And it's either face-to-face with someone knocking at your door, or you can do it, I believe, online. You'll be able to. So please, let us know that you're here in Fitchburg. It will benefit you and the city at large.
So last but not least, does Mayor Steve DiNatale have a New Year's resolution?
I had one of my department heads say, yeah, a raise for me, for him. You know, I said, no. My resolution, it maybe sounds kind of hokey, but it's just to make Fitchburg the place to live, work, and play, and do a better job in 2020 to make that happen for the people of Fitchburg, to make it a place where people want to live. Thank you.
Coming up next on North Central Journal.
Well, the Idea Lab opened in 2019 in January, and we're very excited about that. That's our first foray onto Main Street on the theater block. It really goes back to when I first arrived 5 years ago, when I began talking to the various constituencies, both on and off campus. There was this continual interest in creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship. And so when this building came about, we had an opportunity to think about bringing the expertise of our faculty, students, and the community together to think about creative ideas. There was a lot of interest in the city about the creative economy. The Fitchburg Art Museum was doing really well, and it seemed like it would be a good connection to bring that space downtown. Since that point, it's received quite a bit of attention. We have a space there that's flexible. There's open convening space, opportunity for groups to go down there and play at no cost. We have glass dividers that you can write on, classrooms, private spaces, and really it's just an opportunity to bring a variety of constituents together to think about new business development, small business development, to help the economy of the city and to provide real-world opportunities for our students. Well, the university is always looking for distinctive programs, and the video game design program, being the only video game design program at a public institution, is a huge opportunity for us. Piggybacking on the last question you asked, the Idea Lab space provides an opportunity for students to work there. We built a fairly significant high-powered lab for them to go and work. That program requires a capstone project, whether it be an internship at an existing firm, or an opportunity for students in that program as a cohort to get together and to create their own business. And those kids are capable of generating commercially produced quality video games, and they're using that studio very ably to do that in conjunction with other schools as well. In fact, there's a group this semester that's working with the music school in Boston to score some of their videos to provide the soundtrack. So it's a huge opportunity for us, and it's drawing students from all over the country. So the Theater Block project has multiple phases. We've been talking about the Idea Lab, which was phase 1. Phase 2 addresses some of the retail spaces on that block. There are 7 or so spaces that will have, I think, the potential for a variety of needs. The theater itself will probably absorb some of those spaces because the old 1929 vaudeville theaters really didn't have lobbies as we know theaters today. So we'll need to absorb some of that space into the theater to provide opportunities for those to convene before programs or at intermissions. We're hoping to keep perhaps the restaurant space in some form of a restaurant to cater to the population that will be working in that area of Main Street, along with the folks that will be taking advantage of the newly renovated City Hall. And then we're thinking about some of the other bays perhaps as pop-up opportunities in the short term, either for our students that want to try out some of the businesses they're building in the lab, or perhaps some people in the community that would like to experiment with ideas that they have prior to going all in and investing significantly on something that might or might not ultimately work for them. So Fidelity Bank did provide a space to us. It was a surprise, actually. It hadn't been a long conversation. I know that Fidelity recently merged, I think, with Family Federal, and they wound up with, in their estimation, I think, too many branches. And so they offered the space to us, knowing that we were aggressively working on that north of Maine area. And it's contiguous to the theater and the other retail stalls there. We've done a fair amount of consulting with the theater, the Hanover Theater in Worcester. And what they tell us regularly is the answer is always more space. Space for multi-purpose opportunities, gatherings, weddings, perhaps opportunities for youth to go down there. So if you had a theater, could you have a dance studio? Could you have music studios and stalls? Could you have a recording studio? Things that are consistent with the performing arts. And so that bank is about 15,000 square feet. Huge opportunity for us. It's in reasonably good shape. So we're super excited about taking it over. Plus, we get a nice parking lot behind it, which is always a bonus. So we're also renovating the McKay facility. The McKay facility, as some might know, is a combination of university and predominantly our education and special education programs. And then the other side of the building is occupied by the McKay public school system, the Fitchburg public schools are running K through 8 in that building. And it's a beautiful opportunity for, I think, both groups, as we have students learning about teaching education, and we have students that need student teachers, and so it's a great relationship. The concern we had, however, was that we have two very diverse populations, and felt the need to separate those buildings. So what has happened here in phase 1 of that project is a disassembling of the connector space that connected those two different entities, keeping the public school public-private, and the university sort of contained as well. The next phases will be predominantly changes to our side of the facility, the facility that the university uses. Again, new classrooms, new offices for faculty, et cetera. So as the marketplace changes for higher ed, I think it's important for Fitchburg State to remain competitive, and to do so, it's important to create distinctive programs that are unique, programs that provide Fitchburg State to be considered a destination campus. Why is it that I would want to come across the state? Why is it that I would want to come from other states if I could get the same thing perhaps in my backyard? So we mentioned the video game design program as one opportunity. Our criminal justice policing program is the only program like that in the country. It's drawing students from all over the country, which we're very excited about. We have and continue to have a top at least 5, if not top 3 nursing program in the state, which is very, very competitive. You might recall that we renovated the Landry Arena a year or two ago to be a strength and conditioning facility that provides a laboratory for our exercise and sports science program, an opportunity for them to train students that might be interested in sports medicine, physical therapy. So programs that provide hands-on opportunities that will allow students to build up a resume, be competitive when they go out there, demonstrate to potential employers that they've in fact done things as opposed to just reading about them, is the direction we're going. We've also just recently revamped a program and launched engineering technology to take advantage of our region and advanced manufacturing here, and are revamping the curriculum in support with industry advisory boards to better connect their needs for now and in the future with what we're delivering in the classroom. We've launched several fully online graduate programs, which are drawing from around the world. In fact, we'll have at the upcoming commencement on Friday, I think about 30 or 35 students that will be graduating that have never stepped foot on our campus, but will be earning their degrees fully online. That's an opportunity. We have the largest graduate program of any of the public institutions within our system in the state. We're proud about that, and we'll continue to grow that as well. We just launched a healthcare management program online. Come the spring, we'll launch a couple of more programs, one in marketing and one in supply chain and logistics, 2 very hot areas right now. Certainly we all know that when we place an order on Amazon, somehow the guy seemingly is around the corner and delivers it for us. That's where it's at. We'd like to be in on that for our students as well. So there's a lot of very exciting things going on, and we'll just keep plunking away and trying to find the things that best meet the needs of the state and its population and the skill gaps. The other thing that I will, well, I'll stop there. So the vision of the campus for Fitchburg State, beyond the distinctive programs, I think it is to better meet the needs of what the demographic of the state looks like. If you take a look at the populations that are growing, we have more first-generation students than ever before entering college. We have more underrepresented populations, particularly our Latinx and African American populations. So it's important that we start to better diversify, be more inclusive in terms of the programs that we offer. I'm proud of what we do. We have a campus that does very well when we administer climate surveys. We're welcoming. Students feel comfortable there. We do function very nicely as a community, but I think that we can do better. We have to understand, just as years ago educators realized that students learn differently, some are visual, some are verbal, some don't want to interact at all. So there's all these different modalities and pedagogies that we need to implement to allow every student to be successful. We see the same sort of thing with some of these other populations as well. They come with different experiences in the communities that they grew up in. They come with different experiences that they had in their schools. And so how is it that we can start to shape or reshape some of the curriculum to allow everyone to be equally successful is kind of where we're headed next. Well, thank you very much. It's been great to be here. Fitchburg Access Television is a wonderful partner with the university. We certainly appreciate all that you do, and we look forward to finding ways to work more closely together in the future. Thanks.